KNAC.com. Welcome back. Thanks for checking in. Francisco here. I have the pleasure of talking to one of my favorite drummers from one of my favorite bands of all time, from Typo Negative. We're here talking I Am with Johnny Kelly. What's up?
How's it going? How are you?
Brooklyn in the house.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah,
so we're talking about your new project, I Am. This is
yeah,
a very exciting project, I gotta say. I heard the first track, Dreams Always Die with the Sun. That's
yeah.
that that title alone like gets you in the heart, you know?
Huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And this
yeah. Like usually Kenny's songwriting. There's a little there's depth to it.
Mhm.
It's not writing about partying and
No, no, no.
you
Like
know like
leave that to like the other bands, man. Like
yeah,
the chemistry and to specify, I Am is a project with Kenny Hickey, your Typo Negative brother, um,
yep,
and also your Danzig brother too. Uh,
yeah, yeah, right,
yeah.
yeah. Played in Danzig for a minute. Yeah, he did a
Hmm.
tour.
Yeah. Um, and this is also with Kirk Windstein and
Yep.
Todd Strange of CROWBAR. That's a combination that we didn't know we wanted. Yeah. And then the song is just like it's heavy. It's really good stuff, man. Um, Tell us, for those that haven't heard it, we're living under a rock. I don't get it. Um, how would you describe this style of music that you guys are venturing into?
I've see like being on the inside and like when you hear certain things, I guess it's also part of our age group. Like for us, it has more of a classic rock vibe. Like a maybe like a Black Sabbath or something.
Mhm.
But it seems like like the way that we were approaching it when we were in the room together, we all felt that it had more of like a 70s vibe.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it may not sound that way, to somebody else, but that was kind of our headspace when we were working on it.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of modern rock has taken a classic rock vibe and kind of modernized it. You know? So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we had Jay Rushton mix the single too, so and he's he has a thing, and it's obviously more current than what we would do. Say, so
mhm.
that's why we brought him in.
Sure. Now, you guys had this is one thing that you don't really see too often too, which I thought was pretty cool. You guys had a performance video.
Yeah, yeah. That we filmed that in New Orleans. We did that a few
Mm.
weeks, about a month after we recorded the song.
Mhm.
Like in this, like, the whole thing is all, very DIY. It's like
Mhm.
the whole
Good.
thing started with Corpse Paint Records was to help Drew launch his label,
Okay.
and it's an independent label, so there isn't a lot of money. Everything is
Sure.
low. There's low budgets, so you have to make the most with what you have. To make
Mhm.
more out of it than what you can afford. And so being that it's on a small label, there aren't big budgets to do things. So the easiest thing to do and the most affordable would be do a live performance video. So that there really isn't much of a storyline. I guess it's just to introduce people to the band.
Yeah. No, I love those kind of videos. It's like I don't know about you, but those performance videos are kind of a learning tool. I'm a drummer myself.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
watching watching videos of drummers actually doing things in
I do
motion.
the same thing. I'm on YouTube all the time, checking things out, different players. How
Yeah,
do you do that?
yeah. It's for
Absolutely.
you see this like 12-year-old little prodigy. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I know.
I'm
There's a
quit. I'm
lot of
done.
those. I see those kids, and it's pretty incredible. And I'm sitting there watching them. How did that kid do that?
Yeah, they're like little things. They're like little. They can barely reach the drums, and so I'm like, oh man, all right. Well, but kudos to them, man. They're kind of like the new generation of
Yeah,
keeping rock
that's
and
it.
roll alive. So
Like I always, I always appreciate when I see younger kids playing and
yeah,
playing well. There's
yeah,
even, but
totally.
yeah, it's like I'm not really sure if I'm showing my age or not. Like I try not to do that. With my own girls. I try not to do that when I was your age. I try
Mm,
not to do that.
yeah,
But it's always it's cool to see younger kids picking up instruments and stuff, and like
totally.
now, like in this day and age, I don't see too many like guitar heroes and stuff. I mean, there's
Mhm.
plenty of people that can play,
Right.
and but there isn't that like like that Jimmy Page or Eddie Van Halen or
Yeah.
and even later on like the Steve Vais and the Joe
The
Satriani.
Dimebag Darrells and stuff.
Like now, like like who's now? And is
Mm.
that because I'm not aware of it because of my age or
No,
because it
no,
doesn't really exist?
no. You're not the first person to say that, and I'm sure you won't be the last person to say that. That like today's modern music are missing like those icons that
Yeah,
yeah, that are gonna be known 50 years from now.
right.
So
Like who's going to carry that torch? Like when like when the bands like when Guns N' Roses finally retire, and
mhm.
those older bands like like who's going to take over for Iron Maiden?
Yeah,
Iron
like,
Maiden,
like, no, Iron Maiden, like seriously.
Iron Maiden's bigger now than when I was younger, and
Hmm.
like they're not getting younger. They're not going to be able to tour forever. And who's going to step up next and be the one that fills the stadium?
I know what you mean. Yeah, I,
And
I,
has
I could hear the little modern musicians like cringing, be like, no, no, you're wrong.
right, but it's and like it takes a lot of hard work, of course, but it also takes a
Sure.
lot of money, and labels won't put that kind of money into an artist anymore.
Right. No.
That's that's because of the way things changed with the way how music is like how music is made, how it's sold.
Distributed and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that changed the whole playing field.
Mhm.
But I'm not here to go on a tangent about downloading or streaming or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
no. I
But
get it.
the fact of the matter is, it changed the whole landscape of music. So
Hmm. Yeah.
maybe those days are gone. Maybe somebody will like come out despite all these setbacks and
Sure.
stuff. Maybe somebody will step up and they'll be able to fill the arenas again.
No, totally, totally. And like I mean, again, like you said, not to age yourself, but you with Typo Negative in the 90s was kind of I want to say like the heyday of metal. There was a transition from the whole grunge thing that people were saying like, oh, this is the death of metal, which arguably, but I feel like the 90s was like a big transition into metal, and Typo Negative was starting to blow up.
Yeah, I guess like like being a part of it. Then it didn't really seem like there was the big change when it, like when grunge came in, but like, like when we were coming out and then, grunge was still very in. And, but to me, it was a breath of fresh air compared to what was happening. So I loved it. And, bands like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and stuff, they're two of my favorite bands.
Yeah,
So,
it's funny you say
so
Soundgarden. I'll come back to that.
I appreciated it, but
Mhm.
it was kind of weird, like for Typo Negative, we really didn't fit into any of that.
No, but I think that's a good thing because you stood out like I don't know, funny way you stood out like a sore thumb, but like in a good way. Like I
Yeah,
know as a
it
kid, I
definitely
heard
stood
that I was
out.
like,
It was definitely different, but it was, it was kind of like set up to fail, and despite it, it didn't.
ooh, mm,
Because
no,
no, because it really, like the little bit of success that we had really came from out of nowhere, and it wasn't what was in at the time. Like, like we didn't fit in, we
mhm,
didn't fit in, like with what was going on. And despite that, we were still able to, build a fan base. And it was,
mhm.
you know, uh, I
But
mean, it
I
was
think
exciting at the time, of course, but
sure, sure,
it was strange, it was a strange time for Typo. It was a strange time.
yeah. I think a lot of the goth aspect of rock was starting to mold into or starting to like kind of blend into the metal atmosphere. And I think Typo Negative really helped kind of bridge that. It wasn't.
Yeah, and like even that, like it wasn't even by design. It was the visual was kind of there, but the
Mm,
music didn't really have it as much. I didn't think so. Like I saw it differently. But
mm,
I'm being on the inside looking out is different than like outside looking in. So
Sure, totally, totally. And we'll come back to Typo Negative. Definitely have, want to talk more about Typo
right,
Negative and Peter, of course. Um, Now we're talking about I Am. We're here with Johnny Kelly, drummer for the band, working with Kirk Windstein of CROWBAR, Todd Strange of CROWBAR, and your brother Kenny Hickey. Um,
yeah.
how did this all come about? Like, what was the conversation? Was it first between you and Kenny, or explain?
This all started with Drew from Corpse Paint Records.
Okay, right on.
He started the label, and Typo is one of his favorite bands, and Crowbar is one of his favorite bands. Crowbar and Down, and he was friends with us. Drew started out. I became friends with him. He was the merch guy for Danzig on the tour that Kenny did too.
Okay,
When
right on.
Kenny
Oh,
did the Danzig tour, so
oh,
we became friends with Drew. And then when Typo went on tour, we had Drew come and work for Typo, doing merchandise.
oh,
And Drew lived in New Orleans, and he was really good friends, like drinking buddies with Kirk and Todd, and he knew all those New Orleans people. And he was always saying, "Oh, it would be so cool if you guys got together with Kirk and Todd, and you did something." And
mhm,
so
mhm.
it was always talk, and we'd all been friends for a very long time. And when Drew started his label, he was like, we're going to do it now. Worked out all the logistics when, Todd wasn't touring, Kirk wasn't touring, Todd and Kenny were available. I wasn't playing with Quiet Riot. And we went to Florida, worked on a song.
Lord.
And we got into the rehearsal room, hashed out the song, and then recorded it the next day.
Oh wow. Right on, right
Yeah.
on.
And then they did like vocals like the day after that. And then that was it. And I guess it was more or less like a test to see how it would work out. It's one thing, to be friends with people and you'd be like, whatever, drinking buddies and you hang
Sure,
out and
sure.
stuff. But then, it's a totally different thing when you're gonna start, playing music together, and the dynamic may not be the same as when hanging out with your buddies.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's a different thing, but it wound up being a lot of fun. Everybody really enjoyed themselves, and it was you know the end result was really cool, so we were like,
Yeah.
we got to do more of this. so
Cool.
so we're getting together again at the end of the month to do some more writing and recording and stuff. And
Cool, awesome.
you know and of course I'll be the last person to hear what's been worked on.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't They don't share. I just get it just gets dumped on me. We're like, here, this is what we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're a machine. You're out with Quiet Riot right now, right?
Yeah. We were I was in Vegas and Detroit this past weekend.
Nice. How was Vegas?
It was cool. It was very hit and run. We got there in the morning. We played,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on a plane back to Dallas at 6 in the morning.
Ooh, brutal.
So
Right on, right on.
yeah, it took some getting used to work like that.
Sure, sure.
Like for so many years, I was used to just flying somewhere, whatever, get in a van, get on a bus, and then
Yeah.
you'd stay out for a couple of weeks, and then you fly home. Now it's every day is a fly date. You're going
Mhm.
here, next morning, a lot of times it happens. Like, you have just enough time when after the show, you go back to the hotel, you have enough time to take a shower, pack your shit up, and then you have to be back downstairs to go back to the airport to go to the next city.
Ooh, yeah. Good times, good times. Yeah, yeah.
Thankfully, I could sleep on planes.
Oh, yeah, of course, of course. Get to catch up, little
So
power nap.
I could fall asleep anywhere.
I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
I catch,
Yeah. So let's
and then
mention
usually
like
by showtime, I'm okay.
but mostly like Quiet Riot headline shows, or you've been playing festivals as well for the past. Well, actually, it's worth mentioning that you've been with Quiet Riot for about a few years now already.
Like 4 years already.
Hmm.
I was covering for Frankie when Frankie was still alive. I was covering for him while he was going in for treatments and stuff, and he wasn't he wasn't allowed to fly, or
Yeah,
where he should be resting. He should have been out playing. But I mean,
sure.
he was playing a whole bunch after he got diagnosed. He was he had planned everything out, for Quiet Riot to keep going after he passed away. And one of the things was to get Rudy to come back to the band, Rudy Sarzo.
Sorry.
And he said, you know, he wanted me to continue with the band after he passed away.
Wow. That's an honor. Frankie Banali, man. Rest in peace to him. It's been a
Yeah,
couple years already since he's been gone.
yeah. Actually, yeah. I was, you know, I was just thinking about that the other day, and I was like, wow. Like I saw something go by like on YouTube or something, and it was like a performance from like 2019, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, that's 4 years ago already.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I,
time moves a lot faster when you get older.
no, yeah, no, it's indeed, man. You see,
It really
like
does.
everything just like goes right by you, like in a whim. And
Yeah.
I think it might have been 2019 when I did see them because like it popped up on my archives or something like that. I caught the
Right.
show. I think at the Whiskey. Cause I'm out here in Los Angeles, so I think I caught the show that they played
Okay.
at the
Yeah.
Whiskey. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to catch Quiet Riot. You know, when with him present. You know, so yeah.
I got to see Quiet Riot in 1983 when they opened up for Black Sabbath.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. I forget. Was the reception good for them then? I don't recall. I thought I heard
Ooh.
stories where like they weren't well received, or am I wrong?
Actually, on that tour, they were huge.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Quiet Riot was like, yeah, they had exploded, and you know, they a lot of people were there to see Quiet Riot.
Yeah,
You know,
it's good to know.
yeah, they were, yeah, they were a big draw. You know, at that point, you know, and then like, you know, they came around with Iron Maiden.
Mhm.
They were Iron Maiden's opening act on a tour, like all around that same time. Like, you know, they had toured with you know, going out as a support act for other bands, but at the
Yeah.
same time, they had a number 1 record on the charts. Yeah, so that,
Right.
yeah, they were huge.
That's awesome.
Uh,
So, as the few years that you've been with Quiet Riot, what are some of your favorite shows or festivals so far that you played with them?
uh, I don't a favorite. I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, they're all favorites. I mean, you know, the guys, like, you know, being with the guys is a lot of fun. So it's always, you know, there's no like, you know, there's no egos, there's no power trips, there's nothing negative about it. Um, you know, like when we're all together, we have a lot of laughs, you know, a lot of fun together. And even when we're traveling, when we're doing the early flights and stuff, and it's a pleasure to just be around them, and it's you know, it's different than what I'm used to doing,
Hmm. No, of course.
you know, what I've been doing for years. And
Yeah.
you know, the playing aspect is a real challenge too, because obviously, you know, playing, you know, Frankie Banali's parts, and it was like,
Dun,
yeah, it
dun,
was,
dun.
especially like, you know, like learning the live versions, like the way that they would play stuff live.
Oh yeah.
Because what I was trying to do was I was trying to cover Frankie so that the guys were they had, you know, a live, you know, the way that they would perform the songs live
Sure.
was a certain way. So I was trying to learn the parts the way that they were doing them live.
Hmm.
And Frankie Banali playing live is like putting on a drum clinic.
Ooh,
So
nice.
it's so there was like a lot of like these little things to learn, and
Right.
it's a lot of playing.
Hmm.
It isn't just like, you know, like just keeping the foundation, you know, keeping things solid and, you
Yeah.
know, straightforward.
Yeah.
There's a lot of playing in it, so there was a lot of stuff to learn, and uh, you know, for me, it's a lot of fun because I've never really, you know, the bands that I've been in, there really isn't that environment where the drums, you know, play that kind of role in the music.
Hmm. I think it's cool that like still to the day, as long as you've been playing, you're still learning about like aspects of playing and things here and there, like little nuances. It's really cool to always continue learning. I think it's very important.
Now, I've always been a student playing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So before you joined Quiet Riot on tour, let me ask this real quick: has there been any talk of a new Quiet Riot record?
There's been some, you know, I wouldn't say any serious talk, but yeah, there's talk about it. You know, the possibility of maybe doing something. You know, like you know, a mix of old and new. You know, like, you know, they're still looking through things. You know, to see what's whatever in their archives and stuff to see if
Right.
there's any songs left over.
Mhm.
And like they just the band just re-released Rehab,
Mhm.
the Rehab record, and so then they found a song that wasn't finished, and then it was just like a real rough track. It's called "I Can't Hold On," and they wound up finishing the song, and then they put that out as a bonus track on the reissue of Rehab.
Oh.
So that there may be some stuff like that down the road.
Mhm.
But there's also, and like I said, this is real loose. There isn't anything scheduled, nothing concrete at all. It's just talk of like, maybe this lineup going into the studio, maybe doing a couple of songs, like you're recording something, whatever that is. I have no idea.
Right on.
But it's always, small talk, a little bit of chatter, but
Mhm.
nothing serious.
Mhm.
Right
Um,
now,
mhm.
everything's being focused on, this year is the 40th anniversary of Mental Health.
Wow,
So
40 years.
we're just going out and playing and stuff. We got over 60 shows this year.
Amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, so the summer it's going to get pretty busy.
Right on. And before your current stint with Quiet Riot, you were with Danzig for a good what, about 13 years,
20
or at least a
years.
decade? 20 years. Ooh, that's
20.
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been fun. Like you, I mean, you're like the constant workhorse, right? Like always, like from one amazing thing to another amazing thing, amazing thing.
I have to work.
Yeah, yeah. No, of course, I know, right? I know, right? Yeah. And somehow,
My doesn't pay all the bills.
you look good, bro. You look good. Can I say for 55
55.
you
Yeah.
look great, bro. You look great. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
doing okay for 55.
Yeah.
No, I've always had to, I've always been one like, like to keep busy, and it's important for me to, to stay busy, and it's
Yeah.
like an opportunity. I mean, I'm grateful that there's, I've been able to have, I'm my career is actually, where I am now and where I'm going, and things that I've been able to, play with a bunch of really interesting and really cool players and stuff, and do some cool things. And I'm not done yet.
Good to hear it, man. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
With
not
that
done.
said, with that said, we're talking I Am with Johnny Kelly, this amazing new
Yeah.
supergroup. You gotta call it a supergroup because you got the power of Crowbar and the power of Typo Negative and Silvertomb, with your brother Kenny, that you guys already have that familiarity working together.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's a great feeling to again be working on something. I think you guys are just
Kenny
destined
and
for it.
Kenny and I have been playing together since years before Typo Negative.
Oh, wow.
When I was in high school.
High school. Wow.
Yeah, I was in high school. I was like 17 years old when I met Kenny, when I started playing with Kenny.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And yeah, it goes back a long way. So, we'll always be attached at the hip. And so to do something, to do some side of, like Silver, which is what we've been doing, for a long time now. To do something else is cool, because like I do other projects and things like that. So it's cool to be able to have Kenny do that too.
Right, right. And then earlier on, you mentioned now, like you kind of you have a good respect and admiration for Soundgarden. As I was
Yeah,
listening to like Silvertomb, and especially with the one song I Am, it has and I mean this with all due respect, like it has like kind of a bit of that doomy grungy feeling, but the still doomy kind of just
it has a little bit of that vibe, like like Kenny's vocal performance really like lent to that.
mhm,
And
unique vocals too, unique style vocals.
me personally, I mean, I'm totally fine with it. There could have been so many other things that he could have been compared to
Sure.
that could have been a whole lot worse. So like, to be compared to get the Chris Cornell comparison, that's good company.
Yeah. No, of course, but I'm
If
digging
they
it.
were saying, "Wow, Kenny really sounds like Brett Michaels on this track," they'd be like, "Oh
Oh no, no. I'd be like, yeah, no. No. But now,
It's like, so for Kenny to be like, considered, like a reference to like, that kind of company,
mm,
that's fine, And like I said earlier, like, it's just, you become we're basically just regurgitating like, the stuff that we grew up on and,
right.
the things that we were into. And that's just a reflection of it. And, sometimes Kenny has like somewhere between like Chris Cornell and Bon Scott.
Mm.
To me, like, I hear Bon Scott, I hear Alice Cooper, like, Kenny was
Ah,
a big Alice Cooper fan as a kid.
all right on.
And, and uh and then the Cornell, like the Cornell comparison, but like, like the timbre in their voice is different, like Cornell was more of a baritone in his voice
Yeah.
than Kenny naturally.
Mm,
But sometimes, like, like the vocal approach could be, can be similar. I guess that's where people get the vibe from it. Or
sure, sure. And now you said
well,
you're gonna go in there and record some more songs. Is there talk of an EP for the time being, or are you guys gonna try and go for a full album?
I don't know. I guess we'll see how many songs we get.
Okay.
Like that was one day. So let's see. Now that we have like a week, who knows what we can come up with if we're able to work, as quickly as we did and get that quality of a song out of it. Hopefully we'll get a few songs this, in 2 weeks.
Right on,
And
right on.
then whether we're going to do an EP or a full length or whatever, I mean, honestly, last thing on my mind. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know. And it's in 2023, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not that,
yeah. No, you have a lot of
maybe
a lot on your plate.
maybe it'd be better to just do EPs or, something along those lines instead of, all the work, like, all the work and all the money that goes into doing a full record, maybe it'll be better for us to do like shorts, be able to be, just keep on keeping things out there when we're able to get together and go to work.
Mhm. Yeah, you definitely have your plate full, Quiet Riot, and now I
I mean, I'm
am.
really excited to see what we come up with, like, to be
Me
able
too.
to,
Me too.
like, to be able to put some, like, like to put some real time into the effort,
Mhm.
because like I know, like for me, it was like, I really didn't have a lot of time to like really dig deep into the song and try to come up with something that would be like, oh, this is definitely going to be this is going to be the perfect drum part for this.
I know what you mean.
You guys would love this.
Sure,
This is
sure,
going to be
sure.
great.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to do any of that. I was just like trying to get like get like the root of the melody, like to get to the meat of the song and just come up with something that supported that
Hmm. Hmm.
instead of like it's like a lot of like, all right, ready, go, you're on, come up with
Right.
something good right now.
Yeah.
And so you just I just had my instincts to go with,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of like, oh, well, maybe I could try this, maybe I could try that. Like when you start exploring a song, when
Yeah.
you're coming up, like with anything, you're coming up with alternate guitar parts. Like you have your root melody, and there's the root melody. Maybe you'll have a vocal line in mind that's right there. That's and then you build everything around that.
Right.
I was just had to just grab onto the root riffs and the root parts of the song and come up with a couple of like, little things, like a couple of little fills and, stuff like that. But it was important because I didn't have a lot of time. I just had to keep it really, keep it simple.
Yeah. I think it's important, like as soon as you walk into that room and you start hitting it, just hit record. Because
Yeah.
something's gonna come out of that. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm glad I recorded that.
I mean,
Glad
I went literally straight from the airport to the rehearsal studio. If you look
Mhm.
at the pictures, like the pictures as we're working, you see a green suitcase next to the drum kit. Those are my clothes.
Awesome, awesome.
And I didn't know what we were working on.
Kenny was
I
just like, get to the
hadn't heard
studio, just
anything.
come here now. There's a drum set here, just come.
Like I had asked beforehand, I was like, you guys have any ideas, like that you can send me, somebody like Kenny and Kirk were working, they were trading ideas with each other,
Yeah,
showing this is what I have, what do
right.
you think of this? And they had some stuff and they were aware of it. But I
Mhm.
was like
Totally.
asking, texting everybody, hey, Anybody got to, share something so I have an idea of what we're working on?
Yeah.
No, 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 no. It'll be fine. You're getting you'll hear it when you get to Florida. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, they have the confidence in you. They know that you're going to come in there and just smash and just, your wealth of
I,
ideas in your mind. I'm sure it's just going to
I
be a flow.
guess either that or we just got lucky.
Hey, there's a saying about luck. It's
Sometimes
like you're at the right time.
sometimes the songs write themselves, like coming up with drum parts or whatever. Sometimes it's real simple, and it comes to you quickly, where right away this is going to be the perfect pattern, to move this part or whatever.
Mhm.
And then there's other times, you can work on songs and you can work on them for weeks and months, and it's like, no, it's not right, and you're going to find something eventually, and you try, you explore your options, and then you'd be like, all right, this is cool, we'll keep this instead. And we didn't have time to do that. It's just like we tried to go for this, and it was like, are you guys happy with this? They were like, yeah, sounds great. I was like, all right, great. Now next part, let's move on.
Right.
We put the song together. As long as everybody was happy, that was important to me.
Very cool. We're talking I Am with Johnny Kelly, drummer, along with Kenny Hickey, Kirk Windstein, and Todd Strange. Look forward to hearing a new EP, a new album. Let's see what's in the works. Can't wait to hear the rest of the music. We have a few minutes left, unfortunately. I hate that there's a limit on this damn Zoom calls.
The 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I can't be on this conversation, this chat with you without mentioning Typo Negative and Peter Steele. In a few minutes that we have, because I know you can talk a wealth about him and your experiences with Typo Negative, just share with us your experiences, your time, some words about Peter Steele.
Peter, Peter was always a very, very, very talented person. I like where we grew up in Brooklyn, we could all walk to each other's houses. We were all walking distance from each other. And so like when I was a kid, when I was like in junior high school and high school, like when I first started playing and stuff, CARNIVORE was like the local, like one of the bigger local bands. I remember like my dad lived around the corner from Josh and Peter. And so when I'd go to my dad's, I would see flyers on the telephone poles, CARNIVORE, like with them and the shoulder pads and all this stuff. And then when I was old enough to start going to clubs, I got introduced to CARNIVORE, and I would go see them play in the clubs and stuff like that. And so anyway, I was a big CARNIVORE fan. I was a big Typo fan, and I was really happy to just be in the band. But Peter, like our friendship was just like we were friends. So it wasn't like oh my God, it's Peter. It was good. We were past that. It was like we were friends. We were good friends. We lived together for years on the bus, and we went to a lot of places. We did a lot of shows together. Created a lot of cool music, and so it was just my buddy. So it was, Peter was always, he was a very funny guy. So he was always like, doing pranks, joking around, and, not like what you'd expect. Like when you hear our music, where you'd be like, oh, this guy's really, pretty deep or dark, and he had a very self-deprecating sense of humor, but it was a sense of humor, and it was always trying to find the punchline in whatever was going on. So like that's how I saw Peter, and it was like he's like this really funny, weird, quirky guy that just happened to be an amazing songwriter too.
That's very cool. Johnny Kelly, I'm so sorry that we're out of time. I think I'm just gonna have to purchase this damn upgrade on Zoom, because I would love to just
I had the subscription during the pandemic.
Yeah, you kind of need it. Yeah, but I Am on Corpse Paint Records.
Yes.
Stay tuned for new music. We'll definitely put it out there for KNAC. Shout out to Danzig, Steve Zing, your buddy also.
I was just on the phone with him.
All right, right on. I just saw him. I saw him out here in LA.
Yeah. I was what was I? Oh no, we were talking about something else, but I spoke to him yesterday. I got the whole recap on everything that happened when they went to Poland
Yeah.
and Finland.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that was cool.
yeah. Well,
Dude,
thanks,
thanks for
Johnny.
having me on. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. Cheers.
Have a good one.